Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who didn't know me, my name is Mary, and today I want to talk about 5 German stereotypes that I personally find them not true. I had these stereotypes before I moved to Germany, and when I moved here I found out that they are not true. Well, I know that some of you may disagree, but each of us has their own experiences, and for me they don't seem true at all. So if you're interested to know what are those 5 stereotypes, stay with me. So the first thing I want to talk about is language. I know each single YouTuber talked about language, German language being as rude and harsh, and the reason for that are the movies about World War II that we were watching back in our countries, and especially, as you know, I come from Armenia. It's post-Soviet Republic country, and in those countries we were kind of introduced to this language a little bit differently as the others. And I remember in university when I was offered to learn German, I hated that idea. I was like, how on earth I'm gonna learn that language? It's so rude and ugly, I can't do that. But then when I moved to Germany, and actually I did not learn in Armenia, I had like, I think 4 semesters or maybe a little bit more, but I didn't attend any of the classes because I hated German language. I thought it's so ugly. But then I moved to Germany, and FYI, I moved to Dresden, which is Saxony, and the dialect here is really harsh. I mean, it's the harshest from all the dialects I heard. But even that dialect seemed to me so nice and so pretty. I fell in love with this language, especially Hochdeutsch. It's one of the most beautiful languages you have ever heard, or I have ever heard. I find it so musical, so soft and smooth. And I kind of fell in love with this language, and I remember I just started Googling where I can find classes, and I learned German day and night. I wanted to speak it, but as it goes for grammar, I still hate it. And if you hate the grammar, continue hating it. It is so hard. I don't get this grammar at all. But my husband says I make few mistakes. Mostly it's like with declination, my mistakes, but anyways, I just don't get the grammar. I don't think if I live here for 50 years, I will learn the grammar, and most of the Germans don't get the grammar, so it's not like really my case, only my case. But the language, I mean, if you watch all German films, they sound so nice. I am in love with this language. So that stereotype is not true. So the second stereotype I want to talk about is kind of the thing that we had, that I was learned in Armenia, that about Germans being ignorant and not offering help and being like kind of too private. And when I came here, I remember the first day I got out of the train and I had this big suitcase, and I wanted to carry it the stairs because I couldn't find the elevator anywhere. And I asked this huge guy to help me with the suitcase because it was obviously too heavy for me, and he was like, no, I'm sorry, it's too heavy for me, I can't help you. And I was like, welcome to Germany. But you know what? The next day I changed my mind, because it was a single case that had happened to me, and after that I never experienced something like that like afterwards. All the Germans I know personally, the friends, neighbors, strangers, if you need a help, they will offer you help. Especially when you're neighbors or something. I have been blessed with my neighbors. In each house I lived, I had wonderful neighbors. They would help me in anything I want. They would help me with the language issues. They would translate stuff for me. They will help me with advice, where to go, what to get, how to do, or carry things up, or like moving the furniture around, coloring the walls, putting the wallpapers on. Everything I went through, like during these 9 months, I always had help from German people, and it was not like I asked them to help me, they offer them themselves. And I mean, we know a lot of people here, and of course if you're on the street and you're unfriendly yourself, and maybe not all of them will run to you to help in the beginning, but I think if you ask someone for help, they will be really helpful. They will just help you out. So the third stereotype is German hospitality, about Germans not being that hospitable. Of course, if I look from an Armenian point of view, they may be a little bit less hospitable as Armenians, but let's not forget that Armenians are extra, like, exaggerated hospitable, because Armenians can go under deaths just to offer their guests the best things they can, whereas Germans are just normal. For me, they're normal. And I mean, I was used to, from Armenia, our neighbors come in the morning with like a coffee and something, and we would drink coffee all together, and in the evenings we would just cook together and eat something. I was used to that, and I thought when I'm coming to Germany I'm not gonna have that, and I'm not gonna know my neighbors or anyone. But I remember again the first day I came to this house, and it's not only for this house, because later on my whole life was like that, but I moved to this house where all my neighbors were students, and in the evening we got like a visitor, like our neighbors from upstairs were two guys from Bavaria, came to us, introduced themselves, and like, hi, we're your neighbors, if you're hungry you can come up today and we will cook for you. And after that it was like that almost every single day. They will cook for us breakfast. I mean, they not cook, actually cook, because they're from Bavaria, so we would have like this Weisswurst and Käsespätzle and stuff like that. He would cook for us all these different specialties from their region, and the same went for us, we would invite them as well. And the same went for all the house, because I remember like every week gathering in one of the apartments from the house and cooking all together, eating, cleaning, playing, doing a bunch of things together all the time together, and it was so nice. But then I thought back then maybe it just because of that house, because I felt myself like in Armenia, you know, like, oh, this is like just like in Armenia, I'm so close to my neighbors. But then I moved to the other houses, and right now where I'm living, I know all my neighbors. We are so close. We will go, especially summertime when it is warm, we will go sit downstairs like on the playground with all the kids, and we will visit each other constantly. And especially my neighbors from downstairs, we are very close, so we will just Mondays we're like eating together, either by us or by them. And I have never noticed that when I'm coming I just get a glass of water. It's not like that. When we visited them, they were like, oh yes, you don't have to bring anything, we will grill for you, and we will just, if it's like a just coffee time, they will always have for us nice cake or something with it. But in Armenia it's like you're going for a coffee and it ends up with shashlik, so it won't be like that in Germany. Don't expect that. If you're going for a coffee, it will be coffee with kuchen or coffee with cake. If you're going to eat somewhere with your neighbors or your friends, then it will be just meal time. It is not like, you know, you go for one thing and you end up in the others. But it went the same. It was the same with all of our friends, because they would invite us, or me. I mean, I met my husband after 6 months. I was living here, so we were kind of, after 6 months I was going everywhere with him. So when we were invited somewhere, everyone would be so hospitable, and the same way went for us. We would invite a lot of people to us, and I did not feel like a huge difference between Armenia and Germany, and I did not miss the hospitality at all, because I am welcomed everywhere I go. And I think it's not only my case, it is like Germans are hospitable. As long as you're hospitable and open yourself, of course, if you close up and you say, no, I'm gonna make only like Spanish friends, or I'm gonna have only Italian friends, and you're just hanging out in your group, Germans would not come and offer you something, or, you know, you can't build it bonding with Germans, because they will give you your private place, and they will say, okay, if you want like that, we respect that, it's your thing. But if you're open and you want to become friends with them, they are the best people ever. So the fourth stereotype is called German bill. And this German bill was very popular in Armenia. When, for example, each of us wanted to pay only for ourselves, we would say, let's do German bill. And when I moved to Germany, I understood that it is true, but it is not like completely true. It is partially true. Especially we have that imagination about German couples sitting in a restaurant and each of them paying for themselves. It's not completely true, because now when we are going to a restaurant, let's say, and we invited someone, I'm not German, okay, if my husband goes to a restaurant with someone and he invited people, of course he's gonna pay it. But if we go with our friend just like to hang out somewhere, each of us will pay for ourselves, and it is normal. Like, why should we pay for the rest of the people? But if I have never met a couple like in our friendship when we went to a restaurant and the husband would pay for himself and the wife would pay for herself. Maybe at home they will have like a common account where each of them will put an amount of money on the account, and they will just pay from that account the receipt or the bill in the restaurant. But I have never met German couple who would just share the bill. Of course, if they are just friends, like students who went to grab a beer and it's a woman and a man, but they are not couple, it's just like two friends going to a restaurant, yes, they will pay for themselves, just because the students, they don't have that much money. But in a lot of cases I was invited as well, even with a friend, to grab a beer. They were like, oh, we will have pay that. But I did the same way too. If they notice that every time they are the one who are paying, then they're gonna stop doing that. But if you're like that as well, then it is like normal. So I don't find it completely true. I find it just partially true when they're just friends, colleagues, just grabbing a beer or lunch or something. Everyone is going to pay for themselves. But if it's a couple, yeah, a couple's evening in a nice restaurant, then the families will pay from themselves, but not like separately, husband and the wife. So that's not true. And the last but not least is the stereotypes about Germans being greedy. These things we had as well in Armenia, that we thought Germans are very, very greedy, but it is not true. Germans are reasonable. I can't say it enough. It's just like, you know, they have jobs, they can earn money, but it does not mean that their budget is unlimited, so they can just like, you know, with money, which is something that Armenians do, because they don't have that much money, but they love to spend it right and left and buy expensive things. Germans are not like that. They just spend, buy things they can afford. Let me put it like this. And Germans are people who prioritize things. They have hobbies, and they have expensive hobbies. They get 30 days of vacation, and Germans love traveling. So for that, they have to be a little bit, they have to save a little bit. So they won't go and buy a bunch of clothes just to have just a bunch of clothes, or buy expensive things just to have those things to impress the neighbors. No, they will just save those money and just look in the month how their costs are, just to save a little bit money for their next vacation. And if you have 30 days of vacation, of course you're gonna take it if you have money, but you have to save for that. They will never go under debt to just afford a trip to Turkey, or I don't know, to Greece. They will save up for that. And as they have like expensive hobbies, most of them, they love to spend, they will never save on their hobbies. So they have to save somewhere else to be able to spend on their hobbies. If they love like bike tours, these hobbies are expensive. They have to just fly somewhere else and take part in this marathon and stay somewhere. They have to save up for that. So in a lot of cases, they will be economical. They would just cut the costs, for example, on clothes, or I don't know, whatever, restaurants or going out, but then they will give this money to the things that they find a lot more important. So you guys, those were the 5 stereotypes I used to have about Germany, and I don't have them anymore. Write me in the comment section, what stereotypes do you have about Germany, and what did you think about mine? And if you like this video, give me thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next videos. Bye!